Venezuela, once the crown jewel of Latin America, a nation of immense wealth and promise. During the mid-20th century, Venezuela stood as a regional powerhouse, boasting one of the highest standards of living and GDPs per capita thanks to its vast oil reserves. But today, that former glory is a distant memory. The country is now grappling with a devastating economic collapse, widespread social unrest, and a humanitarian crisis that has left millions in despair. What caused this dramatic downfall? In this video, we trace Venezuela's journey from a thriving leader in Latin America to a nation on the brink. We will uncover the root causes, witness the daily struggles of its people, and explore the possibilities for a brighter future. Join us as we unravel the story of Venezuela, a tale of power, loss, and the enduring spirit of its people. The Golden Age. Venezuela, a country of 33 million people that sit at the northern end of Latin America, known for its natural beauty and rich cultural heritage. The official name of Venezuela is Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, which derives and have ties to Simón Bolívar, the visionary leader and military strategist in the 19th century who played a pivotal role in the independence movement of several South American countries. One may not know that Venezuela is also known as the Saudi Arabia of Latin America in the global stage because of its vast oil reserve and the significant role oil plays in its economy, much like the Saudi Arabia itself. The first commercial drilling for oil started in 1917 and production significantly increased within a few years and further spurred by the World War II event. At that time, Venezuela was supplying their oil to the United States, and by the end of 1930s, Venezuela had become the third leading oil producer in the world, behind the US and Soviet. In the early 20th century, Venezuela was recognized as the country that has the world's largest oil reserves than even Saudi Arabia, totaling 300 billion barrels, and throughout the 1950s, the Venezuelan economy grew at a rapid and healthy rate. However, in that period, Venezuela had little industrial capacity apart from food processing and petroleum extraction, essentially using the revenue generated on the export of petroleum to modernize the country's industrial sector by expanding the investment into iron and steel manufacturing, aluminum smelting, and the production of transport equipment and petrochemicals. Government expanded access to education with the aim of improving literacy rates and educational outcome. Healthcare was also bolstered with the building of hospitals and clinics all over the country. Urban development projects was also carried out at that time, and Caracas had seen the investment of modern infrastructure, transportation networks, and public amenities which improved the quality of life. Essentially, during the period, the revenue from the oil export had moved Venezuela into the Golden Age, which see the economy prosper dramatically. During the 1950s, Venezuela is the fourth richest GDP per capita in the world. Overall, the mid-20th century marked a period of significant social progress and economic development in Venezuela, improving the quality of life for many of its citizens through investments in education, healthcare, and infrastructure. The turning point. Here, we will look into the country's tumultuous journey and examine the pivotal turning point that marked the dramatic shift in the country's trajectory. This is where things started to, let's say, spiraling out of control. The socio-economic and political crisis begins during the presidency of Hugo Chavez. Hugo Chavez was a lieutenant colonel in the military, and in 1992, he led a coup attempt with a group of military officers by seizing control of several military installations but failed in capturing the key communication centers. Suffice to say, the coup failed and Hugo Chavez decided to surrender. During the time that Chavez in prison, another coup attempt taken place within the same year. However, it was also put down by the loyalists. Talk about persistency. After 2 years in prison, Hugo Chavez was pardoned by then-President Rafael Caldera, and during the time he was in prison, he met Luis Miquelina, a left-wing activist that advised him to pursue his ambitions by politic angle rather than through military power. Hugo Chavez traveled across Venezuela and transformed his MBR 200 party into a political party instead. Here, he campaigned by appealing to the poor and disenfranchised, promising to remove corruption and the inefficiency of traditional parties. In 1998, Hugo Chavez won the presidential election with 56% of the vote, a clear mandate by the people of Venezuela that they want to see a change. He holds on to power until his death in 2013, and during that period, multiple failed policies that combined and dragged the economy down. Policies such as the nationalization of industries with over 400 companies are state-owned. This led to decreased efficiency and productivity due to mismanagement and the lack of investment. Chavez also increased the state control over the oil industry, and this led to mismanagement. Oil production declined significantly, and this impacted the revenue for the government. Coupled the existing issue with the global drop in oil prices in mid-2010s, Venezuela essentially plunged into the worst economic crises in its history. We need to understand that oil consists of 95% of the country's export earning. Essentially, the country's foreign income completely dried off, and the government are unable to import goods and services. This led to the collapse of the public services and fueled the social and political unrest in the country. Along that time span, as the government ran into budget deficits and some genius came up with the idea to print money to finance the country's spending. The result was a hyperinflationary spiral, as printing more money to cover deficits led to currency devaluation, higher prices, and the need to print even more money, eroding confidence in the Venezuelan bolivar and worsening the economic crisis. Inflation started to rise in 2010 onwards by double-digit of 27%, then gradually up to 181% in 2015, and then spiral out of control in 2018, where inflation went up to a record high of 130,060%. A roll of toilet paper cost 2.6 million bolivar and a chicken cost 14.6 million bolivar. That is around 14.6 kilograms of paper currency. The current government has taken several steps to address the hyperinflation. First was the currency reforms in 2018 and 2021, where the currency was redenominated by removing 5 zeros and introducing the sovereign bolivar, and another redenomination in 2021 to remove 6 more zeros. These measures aim to simplify transactions and reduce the psychological impact of hyperinflation, but they did not address the underlying economic issues. Businesses resorted to using stable foreign currency to pay the workers and to keep the business running. Some resorted to paying the workers with basic necessity, such as eggs and others. In a dramatic turn of events, Hugo Chavez passed away in 2013. The Maduro Regime. On 5th of March, 2013, the death of Hugo Chavez was announced by the government officials. The cause of death was cancer, and it triggered a presidential election. A few years later, there were rumors that Hugo Chavez had actually passed away in December 2012. However, this was kept as a secret due to political reasons. Presidential elections subsequently were held on 14th of April, 2013, and the winner was Nicolas Maduro, who beat his opponent by a mere 1.49%. Talk about close shave. Nicolas Maduro, a bus driver turned president. A man that grew up in the working-class neighborhood and rose through the ranks of Chavez's socialist movement and solidify his position when he was appointed as the vice president. Under Maduro's leadership, Venezuela faced exacerbated economic woes. His policies, including continued state control over industries and currency fluctuations, strained the economy further. Hyperinflation soared, making everyday goods unaffordable for many Venezuelans. Political controversies and international scrutiny intensified during Maduro's presidency. Allegations of authoritarianism, crackdowns on dissent, and strained diplomatic relations became defining features of his regime. The Maduro regime's tenure has been marked by humanitarian crises, mass immigration, and persistent challenges in healthcare and education. Venezuela's once promising future has been overshadowed by political turmoil and economic decline. Amid dire shortages of food and medicine, Nicolas Maduro faced public outrage after incidents that underscored his apparent disconnect from the nation's plight. The public outcry intensified when a video emerged of Maduro smoking a cigar while dining lavishly, sparking widespread condemnation. These incidents fueled perceptions of a leader out of touch with the hardships faced by his people. Critics argue that these actions demonstrated a lack of awareness and empathy from the president during Venezuela's deepening crisis, further alienating him from an already disillusioned populace.
Today, the United States is broadening its effort to address the ongoing assault on Venezuela's democratic institutions by the Maduro regime. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, has sanctioned the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro Moros.
In May 2018, Maduro won the presidential election again. However, it was widely criticized by both domestically and internationally due to multiple factors. Many opposition parties boycotted the election and claimed that it was rigged due to the lack of transparency and fairness. This led to international criticism by several countries, such as the US and the EU. As of March 2019, over 50 countries do not recognize Maduro as the legitimate president. The crossroad. As we conclude our journey through Venezuela's tumultuous history, it becomes evident that the nation stands at a critical juncture. Once the beacon of prosperity in Latin America, Venezuela now faces profound challenges that have reshaped its social fabric and economic landscape. From the heights of the oil boom that fueled its golden age to the turbulent years under Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro, Venezuela has weathered economic crisis, political upheavals, and humanitarian emergencies. The promise of prosperity and social progress has given way to widespread poverty, hyperinflation, and crumbling infrastructure. As Venezuela stands at this crossroad, its future will be determined on this July 28, 2024, to choose a president for a 6-year term beginning on January 10, 2025. If you found this video valuable, please consider subscribing. Thank you for watching, and stay safe.